Good morning, guys. This is the DeFi Crypto Alliance show where we focus on helping all of our fellow investors understand the opportunity being in crypto over the next few years. We feel like it is the biggest opportunity over the next few years. We're pumped to have you guys on this morning. Corey, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, Corey Geary here, out here in the beautiful country of Puerto Rico, just enjoying my time with family and you guys, doing this crypto journey where we're going to use crypto as a wealth creation tool and use real estate as a wealth preservation tool down the road. And we're just having a time of our life. Even though we're running sideways and downward and more sideways, I don't care because I'm accumulating, I'm DCAing, and it's having a blast while doing it, teaching our friends the crypto way, the DeFi crypto way, how to be your own bank, how to hold your own keys, how to have censorship resistant peer-to-peer transactions and have self-sovereignty. So it's just been a blast.
Absolutely. So Corey, I think that it's an interesting topic going around Twitter and different groups and whatnot. So based on seeing Pulsechain launch, and we'd love your guys posting in the comments as well what your thoughts are. Are you adjusting expectations or how you're building your portfolio now that Pulsechain has been out a little bit over a year? What are your initial thoughts?
So, I mean, I'll tell you my initial thoughts. I mean, I'm just DCAing more. I mean, I'm avoiding any shiny objects now. I'm avoiding all sacrifices. I'm avoiding, whatever I can, any new economic energies going strictly into Pulse only. I'm not buying any more Hex. I'm not buying any more Pulsex. I have good bags of those. Don't get me wrong. I've got nice bags of those. But I am only going to Pulse because I believe that is the layer one. That is everything that will be based out of. That is our Ethereum or even our Bitcoin. Our store of value will be in Pulse. And so I want to build as a large of a position in Pulse as humanly possible without trying to get wrecked.
Sure. No, I like that. I think it's been really interesting to look at some of the other protocols and how they're performing and what they're doing. And specifically, I think it's really interesting to watch people on crypto Twitter talking about how people that are selling down the ink token are plebs or poor or they don't know what they're doing. And I think that's a funny take on things. The incentive token is there as an incentive. It's there to offset risk for impermanent loss. And especially in the farms when you're not earning any of the fees in the pair that you're creating, your only upside is the incentive token. And so what are your thoughts on people swapping that into other assets? Do you think that's the play? Do you think it's good to be accumulating that one? What are your thoughts there?
I mean, I think it's the play because that's what it's there for. I mean, it's not, I mean, obviously you want to hold yourself a small moon bag. I would say like anything else, hold yourself a small moon bag, but ideally it's there to offset impermanent loss. That's the real reason behind it. I mean, so now this kind of goes back to your first question, though. I have adjusted some of my, my strategies with liquidity providing since Fux has launched. Majority of my liquidity providing now has been transferred over to the Fux protocol. That's where I'm providing liquidity. I'm getting paid much better as far as, in dollar value, I guess you would say. It's way better than I was getting paid over on the Pulse X protocol. I'm not saying that wouldn't use it again. I will use it again in the future, I'm sure. But man, the getting is good over on Fux right now, bro. Like I don't want to miss out on these early days when I can get as much Fux as possible, get qualified for more airdrops. And so I'm just going to go over there and I'm going to participate the crap out of it. And I mean, we need competition in the ecosystem. And I don't think Fux is the direct competition to the Pulsex. It is competition, but they do stuff so differently that at the same time it is competition, but at the same time it kind of isn't. But it is because it's going to take economic energy away from Pulsex. But they just do it different. It's not like when 9-inch launches, 9-inch will have the same kind of game mechanics as Pulsex, where you put two assets in a pool and people will trade those two assets. You're going to have single-sided staking like Pulsex will in the future, and 9-inch will have its own incentive token. A lot of the same mechanics that Pulsex already has. Now, obviously, 9-inch He's trying to capture the meme coin market share, which I think they'll do it. Great for them. But I feel like 9-inch is more of a competition or a competitor to PulseX than Fux is. So yeah, when you really think about it, they are taking away economic energy, but at the same time, they just do stuff so differently.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see. And specifically, I've been thinking a lot about you and I have both been waiting for a nice dip on the Fux token, and it's interesting now. Now that dip, it has to come at some point, right? Nothing just goes up in a straight line. But I find it really fascinating that, I mean, we all know and like Hex. And one of the reasons that Hex has performed so well is because of the staking functionality, where you're removing supply from the market that can't be sold. And it's really fascinating with the Fux token that in order to get your boost on your other pools, you've got to take your Fux token and stake it out. And if you stake it out the full year, which is the longest time frame that you can stake it out, well, then you get a better bonus on your other LP pools. And so there's a utility there. There's a reason to keep your Fux token. There's a reason to hold it, as compared to something like Ink. At least as far as things stand right now, there's no reason to be holding that thing. The play, absolutely, if looking at the price chart, has been to be selling that thing like crazy and accumulating.
It is horrible. It's $8 today, dude.
Uh-huh.
It hit a top. What was the top? Like, I think 77 or 70. It was 70 something.
70 something, yeah.
Was the top, man. And so, like, anybody who bought that top got demolished, unfortunately. I mean, who knows though? I mean, it could. Richard Hart could have something up his sleeve. We just don't know. So it only takes one utility or use case for the Ink token to send it to the moon. It really is. I mean, but and I don't know. It's hard to say. Would new liquidity pools do that if it was tied to the Ink token? You know, like how the Ink and PulseX and Ink and Pulse are. If they came out with a new utility with the Ink tied in the pool, would that send it? I don't know, because how much supply or how much inflation has the market received, and would the inflation still offset the need if a new pool were to arise? Me and you were talking about that just like yesterday or the day before that, and it's really hard to say. We just have to kind of watch it play out. But I do believe Richard Hart's not done with different tricks up his sleeve. That's for sure.
No, I agree 100%. I'm not worried about Pulsex at all. But it's just interesting to take a step back and see the different game mechanics at play and be able to reassess how we've done things, why we've done those things, and how you might do something different in the future.
Agreed.
Man, it's really interesting to see. And you and I hold pretty significant positions in Pulsex. And I find that even though we hold those positions, our money's just being treated better over on Fux at this current point in time. And I'm with you. I pulled my LP position that I've had since practically the beginning of launch over there in the yield farms, because it was down to, it was down below 50% in the pool that I was in. And the thing that's really fascinating is you're earning yield in a token that, at least for now, is just dumping into oblivion, and there's no reason for it not to continue to do so. Now, not that that couldn't change in the future, but as far as things stand, that's just how the Ink token currently is. And Richard has even said that it's his least favorite coin. He doesn't really think about it. And so, you can act according there. It's really fascinating with the Fux token, how theoretically you may be earning tokens there that have a better chance of appreciating than something like Ink. And I think that was a big factor in my decision making and pivoting and rotating over there.
At least for the short term. Like we can't tell, we can't read the future, but definitely in the short term, I agree with that sentiment 100%.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, that's interesting. We got some good comments. Yeah, EP says agree. I wish I would have gone much harder in Pulse from the start. Now, Corey, and to this point, have you seen the charts? I wish I don't have them pulled up, but it's interesting to see that PHEX and Pulse are gaining on PulseX and Ink right now. And so theoretically, right, the best positions to build early on, at least in this point in time, would be to acquire more Pulse and PHEX. Do you think that that will continue? Do you think that pricing will continue to play out like that in this market cycle? What are your thoughts there, Corey?
I don't. I think when the single-sided staking comes out, the whole mechanics of everything changes. I think it changes tremendously. I think Pulsex will see a nice rise, and I mean, it's going to pump, in my opinion. I think. Remember when Ink? It's going to be like when Ink. This is how I'm going to compare it. When Ink, it was only trading at $3, and Richard put in the Ink and Pulse and Ink and Pulsex pool, and that's when Ink went from $3 to $70.
Right.
We're going to see the same kind of thing, and maybe not that drastic because we're so early in the ecosystem. I don't know, and I don't have a crystal ball, and it's not financial advice, but in my opinion, I think we're going to see something similar. I think there's an opportunity where maybe your Pulsex, and I could be wrong, but maybe it gets 1-to-1 parity with Pulse for a short period of time because of the FOMO. You might be able to do some legendary swapping at that time, and then the FOMO is going to wear off, and Pulsex will drift back down to a 2-to-1 or 2.5-to-1, and then you can come back, get your Pulsex back, and have a bigger bag of Pulse for doing that. Now, that's a DGen play, but it could work. It could happen.
The one I like that idea a lot. I think the one caveat there is I think that the ink mechanic would have been very different if there would have been a sacrifice and the ink would have been handed out at launch already. There wouldn't have been the buy pressure from nobody having it. And so it'll be
good point.
Yeah. So that, but I'm with you. I think that the Pulsex, I think we'll see a gain back on Pulse once the single side staking comes out, and especially going into the bull market. Once we see volume, I mean, volume has fallen off. Sounds like just about everywhere in crypto. Volume's way down across the board, and so some of these protocols that rely heavily on volume to be interesting, they're just not performing like they would, with 10x more volume, including Pulsex. Now it's buying, burning, and that's great. It's good to remove supply down at these levels, so that's all bullish. But man, I thought that the buy and burn would have a greater impact here earlier on, and it's interesting to watch that and see that it's not that strong of an impact as we currently see.
Well, I mean, all it means is that the sell pressure is greater than the buy and burn pressure. That's all it means, is that people are selling into that buy and burn pressure, and eventually that's going to give out. It will, the sellers get exhausted, right? And when the sellers get exhausted, that's when you see kind of the spring effect. When you hit the bottom, kind of springs because of it's like the energy's pent up, right? And so right now it's just that the sell pressure is greater. That's all it means. It doesn't mean that it's not doing its job, or it's not like it's defective. It's not. It's doing what it's meant to do. It's just that we have a lot more people exiting the ecosystem, the paper hands, and we want this. We need this. We need this continuation of exiting during this time. If you guys want that 100x or greater, this is the only way. That is a guarantee. The only way we're going to get 100x or greater, and especially if you want 1000x, the only way you're going to obtain that is get out the big money paper hands. That is the only way, and that's what's happening right now. And so we need to continue this flush out, and that buy and burn cannot keep up with whales dumping down the price. It just cannot. Big buyer berry, not that big.
But even still, I was thinking that the buy and burn, I mean, we're down 75% from the top so far, which is fine, right? Like you're saying, this is very typical for a good crypto launch, to be able to have the washing and getting everybody out that wants to be out here in the short term. But I was hopeful that we might see less of a pullback initially with some of the mechanics here. And we haven't, which is fine. It's just interesting to observe and look at my thought processes from prior to launch, and then
plus there's one more caveat to this. The buy and burn, and I learned this from these guys out here in Puerto Rico, the buy and burn of Pulsex does not directly only affect PulseX. It affects the whole RH ecosystem because of the deep liquidity bonding. So by it pushing PulseX up, that liquidity is bleeding over and pushing up Pulse, pushing up Hex, pushing up the incentive token. Don't look like it's getting pushed up at all, but can't even hold the thing. So
and I think that's a really interesting thing because you talk about, I mean, Richard's talked about for years about Hart's Law, and you see something like the incentive token that's bonded pretty strongly to Pulse and PulseX, and it doesn't matter.
The dumping is just too great.
Right.
There's one thing there. So there's Hart's Law, and we've talked about this many times on this show. Yeah. But what is the number one thing that matters? Only thing that matters is buy and sell pressure, supply and demand. That will overperform Hart's Law every single day of the week, and it's going to wreck the price of that token because people are just, and they're swapping. What they're doing too is they're not swapping. A lot of them are not swapping in USDC. It's not they're swapping into the Pulse and PulseX pool. So they're directly pushing the price against that pool as they're swapping into that pool because it's not they're taking profits. They're buying their impermanent loss back. And by that, you have this like domino effect or it snowballs, right? They're trying to like offset their impermanent loss, but that by doing so, all you're doing is pushing the price down even harder against yourself in those pools. And so it's like, it's getting wrecked without any utility to bring it back up.
Right. And we're seeing on the charts that it's reflecting where you're seeing Ink and PulseX down. People are selling those for more PHEX.
Yeah, if you look at the Ink and PulseX, what measured against PulseX or Pulse, it is a nasty looking chart, dude. It's like this nasty red line all the way. There's like no green in it at all, dude. It's like
right. All right, let's get to some more of these comments. Yeah. I wonder what RH thinks of Fux. I mean, I would venture to say it's probably who's the Apple CEO now? Is it Tim Cook?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
Sounds right.
You know, what does Tim Cook think of Microsoft? You know, or what does Ford think of GM or Tesla's the new kid on the block? I mean, I think that's probably a pretty fair comparison. And I think that the competition is healthy. I think it's really healthy, frankly, to be able to have innovation and have a reason for Richard or anybody on these different protocols to go and do whatever they're going to do. And one thing that I've been thinking about a lot since launch, you won't have another layer 1 launch on Pulsechain, right? Because Pulsechain is the layer 1, but you absolutely will have more DEXs launch on Pulsechain and take volume and take liquidity. And so with that in mind, it's really interesting how I've become more and more bullish on Pulse than something like PulseX. So we'll see. I'm curious. I'm with you. I'm curious to see how that ratio looks Pulse to PulseX once the single side staking comes out. Would you, if it gets closer to 1-to-1, would you rotate out a lot of your PulseX for more Pulse? I would too. Yeah, I would too.
If it was 1-to-1, bro, I'd probably do my whole bag.
I would too. Yeah,
I agree. I would do my whole bag, and with the intention of taking some of that back the other direction because I just don't see a scenario where PulseX becomes the leader. I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of PulseX maxis out there, and they love PulseX because they only sacrifice for PulseX. But I don't see a scenario where PulseX takes the lead. I just don't.
Give it 3 cycles when the supply is all burnt up, and then maybe.
Yeah. So I'd feel really confident making that trade, even though I don't like trades, and I'm just trying to stay in my lane. But like that trade there, man. Oh yeah, that's yeah. Cause I would feel very confident I'd get my 2.5-to-1 back in the future.
Yeah.
And that might be your only shot. Like, what's after that? I don't know. Like, that's what we're waiting on PulseX. That's supposedly like really bullish, right? I don't know what else would be in the roadmap that would create that kind of buy pressure again. I don't know. Maybe there's something. Yeah, Richard Hart can always come out with something else. But by then, you have so many DEXs coming out. To your point, the competition. That's why, man. I think that would be the grand opportunity. And then after that, I'd buy my PulseX back out of the discount. But
Would you
then
though?
at
At that point,
some of
why?
it, I definitely would some of it. I
Why?
definitely.
You can go take your pulse and validate and make yield just fine.
I know I'm loving my validators. I'm loving my validators, man. Dude, it's the beautiful thing. I check it like every 15 minutes. I'm obsessed.
It's interesting to weigh. It's really interesting.
Well, the single-sided staking, Dane, I can make passive income there.
Yeah,
I want some of my Pulsex back for that. I want to play
but
that game.
but to the thought process of that we talked about earlier, you're theoretically going to be earning yield in tokens that people are going to be dumping.
Yeah,
Whereas with something like Pulse, you could be earning yield in something that you believe in long term. I think there's a lot to be said about that.
there is. I agree.
It's interesting to consider. I would feel pretty comfy rotating. For me, we don't need to get back, or we don't need to get 1-to-1 for me to be fairly comfortable rotating out of my Pulse X for Pulse. If we get closer back to the 2-to-1, or even a little bit more inside that 1.5 to 1, I'd feel
I
pretty
would feel
comfy
good about
rotating out.
1.5,
Yeah,
especially like if you saw the. It's all about like timing or sentiment. There we go. It's all about sentiment. Like you see Richard Hart launch single-sided staking, right? And it's been a few days. You follow the law of meme coins, right? You're like 6 days in, and you got it hit the 1.5 to 1. And you see all these green candles against Pulse. Yeah, you might be at a top, right? Depending on what the sentiment on Twitter is, and you can kind of get a feel. Yeah, 1.5 to 1. I'd probably do it too.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm curious. Let's look at the well, let's look at the law of meme coins on the ink token. I actually think that played out pretty accurately there.
Boy, it plays out on majority of cryptos. It's really funny.
Uh, I I don't feel as confident in that idea.
I mean, every price chart I see the law of memes in it.
But anybody can
They
say that.
all do
Oh,
that.
like sell a day or 2 or 6 days after all. But then
Well,
you've
you
seen
sell on a 2x, you get your position back, and
sure,
then you sell on a 5x, and then you wait 6 days and you exit your position between 5 and 6 days. That's the
sure,
law of meme coins.
sure.
So you're doing it, strategically. But I swear, man, all price charts look like this when they launch, especially the bear market. It might
Yeah,
change the rule.
especially in the bear market. I think
They
that's
all
key.
do this, man. I mean, look at Hedron, look at Icosa, look at all of them. They all do it, except for
But
Fox.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's some exceptions to the
Fox.
rule. It's really interesting to watch. But sure enough, yeah, and you start counting the days, if I'm not mistaken, once it's kind of found a bottom, don't you? Or do you start it right from launch?
You start it from launch, I think.
Okay, so we go 1, 2, 3. Fourth day, you're up here. Fifth day, you're up here. Sixth day. Seventh day was the top on the ink chart. It's pretty
Right.
interesting.
The
Yeah.
top with a nice, massive red candle.
A massive red candle. It's fascinating to see how this chart's just gotten obliterated. Yeah. No, I apologize. I think I'm on the wrong chart. Hold on.
Well, you're against the aren't you against the USDC, Inc. USDC there?
Let's double check. There we go. This is the right one. Okay, we're on the daily. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this was the 5th day, the 6th day.
Either
So
way,
yeah,
you notice how both charts
yeah.
that you're looking at did it?
You what?
Both charts you looked at follow the law of meme coins.
Yeah, it's interesting to consider. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you really had like 6 on the 6th, 7th, and 8th days are the days you could have gotten out at or very near the top.
Mm-hmm.
We could look at all the charts. It's interesting to consider. Let's see if Pulsechain and Pulsex followed that same pattern. I think they did. Pulsex. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6, 7 days.
It's kind of funny, right?
Pulse is probably the same.
It's kind of funny.
It is.
I'm telling you, my man B Roots knows what he's talking about.
Let's go to the daily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6. 6, 7, 6, 7, 8. You had the opportunity to get out at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. What about P-Hex? Because P-Hex has been around. People got a free copy. A little bit different dynamics going on there. Let's see if this one did the same. Go to the daily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Look at that. That is really fascinating. Huh.
It's a
Are you
lot of meme coins.
are
Yeah.
you confident enough in this that you would do it on your stuff moving forward that you're buying?
It depends on the protocol. If it's a protocol that I'm like really in love with, I would only do it a small portion of my bag, so I don't want to get left behind and be wrong. But if it's a protocol I'm like indifferent about, like I'll give you an example. Mintra, I sacrifice for Mintra. I don't, I think it should be fine. It should do well, but it's not like my favorite protocol or none. If I got left behind, then it's like, okay, I would not like be crying at night because of that. And so
Sure.
like I would play my whole bag with Mintra on that. Yes.
Look at this is interesting. Look at this chart. So this is the Fux chart.
Foxchar hasn't played that game yet.
Not yet. It's interesting. All right. So we're on the daily here.
Oh, jeez, that's
So
ridiculous.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12th day and it's still running. It's interesting. But even if you would have, I mean, if you would have gotten in early, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and sold on the 6th, somewhere
You
in
had a
this
red
range,
day.
you're
You still
pretty
have,
close. You're pretty close to the top at these levels still.
yeah.
It'll be interesting to monitor this and see when the price corrects.
Remember he's only done one airdrop, and he's got multiple more free airdrops coming out for the community.
Right, right.
And we could answer some of these questions. We're gonna have Buck and Dylan on Friday.
That'll be good. I'm excited. I've got some things that I'd love their feedback on.
Yes.
Let's look at the fiat chart. What is that one looking like? Oh, freak. What am I doing? Hold on. All right. Where'd it go? Right here. All right, here's the daily. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one didn't play out to 6, which is fun. Kind of like you're saying, it's you sell on a double or a triple.
It's like a double, triple, and then 5. You do a 5x, and then you wait for your 6th day.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you would have had to bought. It's interesting because you on this one I guess you would have gotten pretty close to a double. 0.27
Yeah.
top of this candle here is point.
And even on your 6th day there, Dane, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you'd be on that red candle, that second red candle. You'd still be in, if you'd sold there, it looks like you're still generally in profit.
If you could have gotten in somewhere on this green candle.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. You would generally be still be in profit.
Yeah. That's interesting.
You would have made good money playing the law memes on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, keep in mind, guys, if you were to play any of these games, there's tax implications and things like that. So keep all that in mind. But some interesting things that are playing out here to be aware of as you're participating in other protocols moving forward.
Absolutely. But I mean, I got to tell you, man, Flux is one of my favorite protocols right now. I like everything in the PH ecosystem, man. I'm having fun, with all of it. It's just, I can't wait for see the Fame to come out. Both me and you sacked for Fame, so I'm excited to see what that has in store for us. And yeah, man, it's good.
Fame late sack is open right now, you guys. If you didn't get into Famous and you want a little bit of a multiplier, that multiplier, if I'm not mistaken, ends today. So if we go to
the best rate ended yesterday or the day before yesterday, I think it was.
Right, it was a 0.15 or 1.15 bonus multiplier. There's one that's a 1.10 that I believe is good still through today. And you've got essentially about just over 5 hours to go and get that. Double check. There was a 4-day period in order to get bonuses, and after that, it's just even. So go and check. You can come here and you can go to their Telegram and check it all out. But Fame is interesting. This is a fork of GMX. GMX killed it in this bear market, and so that's something to keep in mind. Also, keep in mind one thing that I've also been pondering is that the way that the PH team has built their protocols, every single one of them relies on volume in order for except for Fux. Fiat and Fame rely on volume in order for the staking passive income to be interesting. And so those are ones that we'll probably have to be a little bit more patient with. In fact, I'd love, and you guys feel free to post in the comments, but what are your thoughts, Corey? I mean, why do you think something like GMX? So, for those of you that are not aware, GMX is a leverage trading protocol. And if you buy now I'm not familiar specifically with GMX, but I'm very familiar with Fame. And if GMX works the same way that Fame does, which for all intents and purposes, I believe that it does, then you could go and buy the native token for GMX. It would be the GMX token. For Fame, it would be Fame. And if you stake that, you earn a portion of the fees that are paid out from the protocol from people leverage trading. Do you think that GMX did so well in this last bear market because it was a new game in town and something interesting that people could play with while the rest of the market was capitulating? Why do you think that it may have that's the conclusion that I'm coming to? I'm trying to think of other reasons that it may have done well and how we could try to extrapolate some of those out to Fame.
That too, Dane, but I think also because even in the bear market, traders beat traders.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have traders in there trying to trade. They're being bearish in their trades, and so you have people a lot of shorting. You know, shorting is going to always exist in a bear market, and I think that might be why it did so well, because it brings to crypto what Legacy has. You know, the capability of shorting with leverage, because that's been around a long time. Because in a bear market, that's how you can hedge your position. And these are financial instruments that a more sophisticated type investor uses. And so that's why I think it did well too. And yeah, you're right. There's obviously something to be said about the new shiny object, right? People flock to that. So yeah, that's between the two of them, man. And they're earning passive income. And if it's a lot of passive income, that snowballs, right? It's a snowball effect. People are going to crowd in there to get that passive income. And that also helps pump the price of the native token.
Right. Absolutely. Now, it's fascinating right now from what I've heard. I haven't done a ton of digging into this, but it sounds like volume, even on places like GMX, have really gone down substantially. And so I'm really excited for Fame, but I think it's one we probably just have to be a little bit more patient with in order to get volumes up for things really to get rocking and rolling for this next cycle.
Yep, I agree 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, total Pulsechain burned 164 billion. Man, it's working. It's buying and burning. This is really bullish for us over this first cycle, this first market cycle into 2025. I'm going to be curious to see how things pan out. But I'm still bullish on Pulsechain. I've got my tokens. We talked about a little bit earlier in the show. There is certainly a point where I'd be willing to rotate out of that bag into more Pulse. And if it doesn't get there, then I'm fine, and I'll just hang out and earn yield from the single side staking when that comes out. Now, do you have any thoughts, Corey, as to when? Well, let me give you my thoughts, and you can give me your feedback. So right now, Richard has some tools left in his tool bag to really make things interesting and to be able to pump price. A couple of those things are specifically on Pulsechain. You have the single-sided staking. You also have some smaller features like limit orders, which would be useful. I don't necessarily see limit orders pumping the price, but really hard. But if it was the only place or one of the few places where you could do limit orders on Pulsechain, that would be bullish. I don't think that there's a huge incentive for Richard to go and implement a lot of those things until the macro market kind of starts to straighten itself out. Why would you want to implement that stuff until it can make a meaningful impact? I would argue that if you did it now and the macro markets suck, then you could have a short-term pump followed by more dumping. And that ammo would be better used when the markets kind of straighten themselves out and we're starting to look a little more bullish, potentially closer to the Bitcoin halving, which would be early next year. Do you think that it's likely that Richard waits till, maybe end of this year, early next, before some of those things are implemented?
I do think it's likely. I think we could see 6 months before PulseX has single-sided staking. And for one, it's not on top of his list right now, man. He's on top of his list is making sure that the whole chain is running proficient and doing well, and anything that he needs to tweak in there, he's going to do, right. And so I just don't. I could be wrong though. It could come out in a couple months, but I don't foresee it in the near future. With the way the market is, man, the market is so bloody. Why would you want to launch it? Let the paper hands continue to be paper hands, and then reward your diamond hand guys with that later down the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
We got Motley in the audience.
Cool. What's up, Motley? This is a good comment. Fiat Riot Pulse is a very interesting chart. What is its liquidity tied to? Stables? It's a good question. Fiat is not very liquid. I've been trying to build my fiat position, and I could only buy like 1,000 or a couple $1,000 at a time before the price impact is more substantial. And that's everywhere. That's on Fux. That's on Pulsex V1 and V2. It's not very liquid right now, and so I'm really excited about fiat, and in fact, I'm considering maybe building that position. I'm pretty happy with the position that I've built. Maybe I'll build that one a little bit more, but I'm with you, Corey. My main priority is to be able to get more Pulse.
Yeah, 100%.
The chart is a meme coin. I love it.
It is a meme coin right now. Yeah. I love how all the maxis too were like talking about like ink. You guys don't understand the fundamentals behind when I was mooning. You don't understand this is the secret weapon that Richard Hart had up his sleeve. It's like all this, and then dumped on our heads.
Oh man, yeah. Keep the main things the main things. It makes things so much more simple. Yeah, Motley, this is a great comment. Fux was given mostly to Wells. They're more interested in the DEX fees and voting power for the pools rather than a quick sell. Yeah. And it's cool, like we talked about before with the balancer protocol and Fux being a fork of it, you have a utility case for the incentive token for the Fux. So you can boost your pool's incentive for having larger voting power and being able to vote for that. I'm hopeful that I sold my e-fiat, so I missed out on that airdrop this last go around. I'm hopeful I've done what I could to qualify for this next one. I'm hopeful this next one will be.
And it gets a little even deeper in that, Dane. So, like, as you increase your liquidity pools, like,
talk about how the boost works. You were telling me that yesterday. This was good.
It's whatever the boost is, whatever your Fux is, whatever your pool share is in the Fux pool, the VFux pool, is what only up to the 2.5% you can get in the other pools. So if you want to keep up with the 2.5 times, I mean not 2.5%, 2.5 times bonus multiplier, and you're increasing like the RH Maxi pool and you're increasing your liquidity, well then your multiplier is going to go down unless you increase your VFux pool to go to be the same ratio, I guess, or same whatever the word I'm trying to, the same pool share. It needs to be equal to the same pool share. And so it's really funny because as you're chasing that yield and you're providing more liquidity, but then you're kind of you're pricing yourself or pushing yourself out of your multiplier. Then you got to go buy more Fux off the open market, add that in to get your multiplier back up, and it's like this forever like race that you're trying to keep up with. It's great game mechanics.
Oh, it's cool. There's a reason to buy the token.
So whoever created the balancer balancer protocol, man, that guy was like top tier. And then of course Buck, he give him props for choosing to fork that particular protocol for Pulsechain.
Yeah. Molly, this is a good point. Fux fees are based off the volume of the DEX as well, no exception. Now, the emission of the Fux, though, is not dependent upon volume.
Your VFux rewards are. So, like, your VFux pool is going to get rewards. You get a share of the protocol's fees or whatever. I don't know exactly how it breaks down, but, like, those rewards are based on what Motley is saying here. It's off the volume.
Right. But the APRs that are quoted in there right now,
I'm not sure if they have mechanics tied to it. That'd be a great
Yeah.
question.
Motley, if you know, what is the Fux emission tied to? Is that tied to volume as well? My understanding that it wasn't, but I haven't
the
dove
main
deep on
pool.
that either.
Definitely the V-Flux pool is. That for sure is.
Sure.
But the main pools, besides your multiplier, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. And Motley, if you're willing, what do you think the upside is on Fux? I was looking, so I'll show you guys. And Corey, I'll get your feedback here too. So if we go and we look at the balancer protocol, and if you guys know in the comments, a balancer started on like V1, and so part of the price chart is not included here, that'd be good to know. But the price chart isn't crazy. Let me show you. But also I did this when I was looking at Fiat in the Aave chart. Aave started on V1, and so you don't get the full scope of the chart.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if
it was called like DeFi Lend or something like that initially.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you could see, and once again, I know I'm just a quick check on CoinMarketCap. I know we're not huge fans of that here, but I'm just doing a really quick check. I mean, you could see the bottom here in this last run was, like, what is that, $13? And then the high was 70, it looks like, $70. So a 5x is what this chart shows. If you guys know in the comments if this started on V1 or somewhere else, so that we're missing part of the chart, I'd love to know that. That'd be interesting to know.
That'd be interesting to know too. And then where at in the market cycle did it come out? Like, where's that at date? What date is that? The initial
let's see, this is July, beginning of July in 20. Well, this is an easy thing to figure out. When did
Well, July of 20 had plenty of time for it to pump during the market cycle.
Started in early 2018 from their website, Balancer, yada, yada, yada. Well, let's just do this. Balancer V2 anniversary. Yeah, I bet that so Balancer began in early 2018.
So there's a chart missing.
Yeah, when did let's do Balancer protocol. Gosh dang it. Balancer protocol. Starting price. See if we can get some better data here. It doesn't look like there's an easy, quick, and dirty, this is what price started at. Yeah, if you guys have a price chart somewhere we can pull to be able to see starting price in 2018, that'd be helpful. I'm curious how many X's it did.
Yeah, we know how the liquid loans price chart looks. The fork of it, right? What was that? The liquidity?
Yeah, those liquidity.
Yeah. Nasty.
And I really wish I wouldn't have pushed my liquid loan stack out 2 years. I screwed the pooch on that one.
I did too, bro. I'm there with you. I was a pleb. Yeah, that is not.
No, it's practically only. This is competing with the Zen chart here.
That's what it looks like, Zen. or currently the ink token.
Seriously, yeah. So you got a little. In fact, we could see, let's see. When the liquidity. Let's see. Crypto.
It came out in the middle of this bull run, if I remember right, or at least the tail end of it.
April. When does this chart start? I mean, this chart starts in April.
That's it. Then that's probably it.
According to Google, on Ethereum blockchain in April 2021. So if this is the entirety of the price chart, I mean,
well, we're wrecked.
Yeah, this looks like one to potentially take profits on early if you were part of the sacrifice. We
can't do that.
We're if you could, then it might make some sense. So this is the 7th.
They locked us up, Dane, so the team could dump on our heads.
Yeah, I screwed that one up. So this one launched on the 7th, and the top was the 24th. So that's like 3 weeks, about a little less.
Yep.
Something to consider for those of you that are watching and didn't screw it up like me and Corey did. There's some data for you. Oh man, live and you learn. That is
Yes,
all
sir.
right. Okay, cool. Motley's helping us here. 50% of FUC supply is distributed evenly for the next 5 to 6 years, I
Yeah,
believe.
that's correct.
Okay. So not based on volume for that part at least. And get away the getting's good. I mean, gosh, the opportunity to be able to go and earn this token for free, get the free airdrops, and I mean, it might perform pretty nice. I'm bullish on I'm bullish on FUCs. Yeah, I
Yeah,
like it.
me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Balancer wasn't promoted that well. Oh, that's good feedback. I don't know anything about it other than the price chart is
I hope
from
liquidity
the
too.
little bit that we saw. Yeah,
Maybe liquidity wasn't marketed very well either.
I mean, the guys over at why am I drawing a blank? Not Liquid Loans, Power City. They that's kind of one of their claims that it wasn't marketed well. I don't
It's an
know.
easy scapegoat.
Yeah, for the missions, 25% of play is airdrop and 25% T-non. Yep,
That's accurate.
absolutely. Oof, my Liquid Loan coins are free. Don't rub it in. We bought Randy a truck last market cycle. Apparently, we're buying Motley a truck here in this one. Here we go.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep.
Motley can give me a ride in this truck, all right, that I'm about to buy you.
Right. Oh man, cool. Well, we've got to jump off. This is a good show. We appreciate you guys tuning in today. We do our best to bring you what we feel like is the best information to help you guys make good decisions. We're not the ones here telling you to buy ink at the top or telling you that it's a good buy right now. We're giving our opinions. None of this is financial advice. We absolutely could be wrong. And we talk about it with some of our misses, like Liquid Loans, for instance. We feel like that was a miss. And we'll see. So we try to keep it real out here with you guys. We appreciate you tuning in and appreciate you guys being
Friday, guys. Buck Fiat and Dylan will be on our show, so tune in. It will be a different time though, guys, because Buck's out in Australia, and so like we'll have our normal show, or maybe we won't have our normal show. I don't know yet. Either we'll have it or not. But then I think it's going to be 5:30 p.m. EST. Is it? You said you need to push it a little bit forward, right? I need to confirm with Dylan, right, Dane?
Yep. So we need to push it 30 minutes. So that'll be 5:30 that time.
5:30 EST. I'm going to confirm with Dylan. And so, guys, tune in. That'll be a special show. We'll be able to ask Buck all our questions. And I love talking to those guys anyways, because I learn something every single time I talk to those guys.
Agreed. Cool, guys. We'll catch us tomorrow, and we appreciate you tuning in. We'll talk to you later.
Peace.